what's going on, everybody? This is Hoovy186 back again with another video, and this is technically part one of the Kick-Ass 6 impressions. I did a review video of King of Fighters 13 in my previously a while back, but I kind of figured since I did all that cool editing stuff for Soul Calibur 5. It's only fair for me to do it for King of Fighters 13, the first game of the Kick-Ass 6 that I bought, played, and reviewed. So this is gonna be kind of like a review of the game. So here it goes. All right, first things first. I've been a big fan of SNK and their fighting games for a long time now. From playing the Fatal Fury games back on the Super Nintendo, all the way to, kind of catching up, if you will, with the King of Fighters series from '94 all the way to '98, on the PS2. And I've always been, I've always been a fan of their fighting games. So I had King of Fighters 11. I did like that game a bit, and the only thing I didn't like was the roster. I didn't like the roster, but overall it was a good game. And I didn't buy 12 because one of the problems with 12 is that it lacked content, and outside of the fighting there was really nothing else to do. But thankfully, King of Fighters 13 addressed that issue in spades. Let's start. And obviously, when you start off the game, you're gonna see a cinematic, very nice, colorful, I would probably say anime style, um, cinematics, kind of showcasing, the teams and the gameplay and all the other stuff. And it's definitely done very well. And kind of what's going, and also it showcases kind of what's going on with the story, which I'll talk about later. But overall, it's very nice, very well done. It's cool. Um, when you start up, you have a whole bunch of options to choose from. You have tutorial, which is kind of getting you accustomed the to the somewhat new game mechanics in the game. Um, what I mean by that is that I believe they use a different system from 12, but the system that they're using isn't necessarily new. You see, they've had this system in the past from the from previous King of Fighters game. Basically, what it is basically you have two power gauges. You have see if I want to I want to pronounce it correctly. You have the power gauge, which pretty much you can stock, you know you can stock, stock power gauge, power stocks or whatever. Basically, you can save it up to three. You can save it up to three stocks, and five if you're on your last character. Um, you have the power gauge, and then you also have the hyperdrive gauge, which is essentially a two it's basically two bars. You bring it up to halfway, and you can get up to halfway and use it, or you can get the full. You can get it completely full and use it. It's pretty much what what this bar allows you to do is kind of use um HD versions of the move, which is basically if I'm not mistaken, it's basically similar to EX moves. So yeah, so if you go on tutorial, you learn about it. But I'm very familiar with this what do you call it? With this power gauge from playing previous games, including Capcom vs SNK 2, and this is basically the end gauge, the end groove. What they're using here. So you have tutorial, you have your standard arcade mode, and then they also have story mode. Now story mode is actually done kind of differently. What they decided to do with King of Fighters is basically you choose the path that you want to go on. They show you basically the continuation from King of Fighters 12, They show Elizabeth, who is if I'm not mistaken, she is the main protagonist as far as the actual arc of the story goes. So she has conflict with one of the bosses in the game, which is Ash Crimson, and yeah, so yeah, so they show her and some dialogue. One, like, there's no voiceovers in this game per se, as far as the cutscenes and stuff like that. It's just basically just reading dialogue. Um, so so yeah, it doesn't have that. Like, also, basically you choose a path, right? And you get to the end depending on where you go. If you lose, then that's it. Then that's basically it. The story mode will end, and you have basically a list of scenes that are either locked or unlocked. And the goal of story mode is basically to unlock all the scenes. You can pass the game and not have 100% in the story mode. So I like the way they did it. It kind of opens up new dialogue for different you know it opens up different dialogue for different scenarios and stuff like that. It's very cool. I like the fact that they let you do that, and I think more fighting games should do that when it comes to their single player campaign. Um, I thought that was very cool. All right, what else do they have? All right, they have obviously versus. And they have online mode, which I'll talk about later. Like, overall they do have a lot of different stuff that you can do in the game. Like, you could customize the color, and in some cases you could actually customize the outfits of each character by kind of messing around with the color schemes and stuff like that. It is a very is very welcome change from dealing with people like Capcom, who charge you for costumes and shit like that. So I think SNK for providing that. Obviously, like, you have survival mode, where you basically have to survive wave after wave of of opponents with one set health bar. So that's cool. You also have these move command mission based objective, where you have to complete a combo and stuff like that. It's very similar to what to Street Fighter 4 had the same thing. Super Street Fighter 4 had the same thing. All right. As far as let's see. I guess the last thing to talk about is the online. Um, the online. I mean, I've had mixed results. Like, in the beginning, I said that you do deal with input lag, and that is true. But there was one point where playing an online game in King of Fighters 13 was nearly impossible. All I dealt with was fucking lag, in like severe input lag, the whole 9 yards. Lately, as you've seen from the gameplay footage, everything seems to be fine. You know what I mean? There's little input lag. You know, you don't deal with that. You don't deal with that. If you have a good connection, you won't deal with that. Or if you're facing someone with a good connection, you won't really deal with that. It needs to be perfect. But yeah, I don't really yeah, I haven't had that many problems lately. So that's definitely a good sign. Let me see. So so yeah, graphically, the game looks beautiful. It's, to me, the best 2D fighting, it's the best looking 2D fighting game I've ever played by far. Um, I'm not a big fan of some of the character models, but that's a small gripe on my part. So basically, overall, to me, I gave this game 8.5 before, and I stick to it. I give it 8.5. There are tons of great content in this game. The story mode is great. Like, the fighting, the gameplay is as cool and as crisp as it's ever been for a King of Fighters game. The online is a little bit iffy. That's really one of my very few gripes about the game. The online is very iffy. I haven't had any problems lately, so that's a good thing. But again, it's still iffy. But overall, again, if you haven't bought this game yet, buy the game. This game is awesome. It is the best King of Fighters game that they've made yet, in my opinion. So, man, go out there, buy the game. If you haven't bought it already, if you have the game, start it up again. You know what I mean? Cause just start it up, man. Cause the game deserves to be played. Anyways, this is Hoobie 186. I'm out.